a wartime firing that few saw coming. Pete Hegseth removes Randy George without warning, mid-conflict, mid-command. No explanation, just an abrupt exit and a shaken Pentagon. As tensions with Iran rise, the question isn't just why he's gone, but what happens to the chain of command now. A major shakeup at the top of the United States military is raising serious questions about leadership stability at a time of escalating conflict with Iran. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has abruptly removed General Randy George, the Army's top officer, forcing his immediate retirement in what officials describe as an extraordinary wartime decision. George, who became the 41st Chief of Staff in 2023, was expected to remain in the role until 2027. His sudden exit comes without any official explanation from the Pentagon, even as US forces continue operations linked to the Iran conflict.
General Randy A. George will be retiring from his position as the 41st Chief of Staff of the Army effective immediately. The Department of War is grateful for General George's decades of service to our nation. We wish him well in his retirement.
In his role as chief, George provided advice and guidance to Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane and Hegseth regarding those capabilities.
Senior Army leadership was caught off guard by Thursday's abrupt announcement. It doesn't feel like a very thought-out decision. George found out in a phone call from Hegseth on while he was in a meeting. He later spoke to his staff in person about the announcement, and his staff was very stoic when receiving the news.
The move is being seen as part of a broader purge of senior military leadership under Hegseth. Alongside George, at least two other high-ranking Army officials, including General David Hodden and Major General William Green, have also been removed. As the Army chief, George has worked closely with Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, a senior official close to the White House, whom Hegseth has perceived as a threat and at times had a contentious relationship with. An unnamed US official told New York Times,
"Over the last year, General George and Mr. Driscoll had formed a tight partnership."
Hegseth has also clashed in recent months with General George and Driscoll over the Defense Secretary's decision to block the promotion of 4 Army officers to be one-star generals. But they refused, citing the officers' long records of exemplary service. A senior Defense Department official told CBS News,
"We are grateful for his service, but it was time for a leadership change in the Army."
What makes the decision particularly striking is its timing. Removing a serving Army chief during an active conflict is extremely rare and has sparked concern within defense circles about continuity and command stability. Sources suggest the decision is part of a wider effort by Hegseth to reshape the Pentagon's top ranks, often replacing officials without prior notice or public justification. General Christopher Leneve is expected to take over in an acting capacity, marking a rapid shift in leadership at one of the most critical moments for US military operations in the region. The shakeup also reflects deeper tensions within the Pentagon. Reports indicate growing friction between political leadership and senior military officials, particularly over strategy and internal reforms. Senior Army officers reacted with anger and frustration to the news of General George's dismissal, characterizing it as the latest blow to a service that already feels under siege by Hegseth. General George, a combat veteran with decades of service in Iraq and Afghanistan, had been closely involved in modernizing the Army and preparing it for future conflicts. His removal now leaves a leadership vacuum at a critical time. The bombs are still falling on Iran, but inside the Trump administration, a different kind of battle is being fought, and it is getting ugly. 3 former US officials and a senior regional official told Middle East Eye that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have been at each other's throats over whether to send ground troops into Iran. The tension spilled into public view when Rubio stood before reporters on Capitol Hill and said what no Trump official had said out loud before.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
Washington erupted. MAGA influencers, conservative commentators, and anti-war voices on both left and right took it as confirmation that Israel had dragged America into a war.
Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them.
But behind closed doors in a congressional briefing, Rubio had already let something else slip. When asked about arming Kurdish forces inside Iran, he told lawmakers,
"We're not arming the Kurds, but you never know with the Israelis."
3 statements, 3 different audiences, one consistent thread. Even America's top diplomat is not entirely sure where his own defense secretary's loyalties begin and end. Because while Rubio has been urging restraint, Hegseth has been operating in a different universe entirely. This is a man who came to the Pentagon with Crusader tattoos on his body, a Jerusalem cross on his skin, and the Arabic word for infidel freshly carved into his left bicep days after US airstrikes killed hundreds in Muslim-majority Yemen. Hegseth pushed for the largest air assault in history to continue, dismissed comparisons to Iraq, and refused to rule out ground forces.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
Hegseth has long been criticized by those on the left for being more loyal to Israel than America. His 2020 book, American Crusade, calls for a 360-degree holy war, frames Muslim immigration as an invasion of the West, and depicts Israel as central to what he calls a civilizational battle between Christianity and Islam. Hegseth's appointment was also a shock to many. His own National Guard unit flagged him as an extremism concern, and they might have been right. While Rubio is trying to pump the brakes, Hegseth is flooring the accelerator. And somewhere between those two men, a decision about American boots on Iranian soil is being made.